name is Caitlin Carroll.
And I'm Whitney Carroll.
And we are here today to introduce to you our grandfather, Theodore Taylor, who lives in this lovely home in Laguna Beach, California.
This is his office, and this is our grandfather, Mr. Theodore Taylor, who is the author of the children's book, The Cage.
Good morning. Welcome to my writing room. I sit here at this desk every day in the week and work from about 9:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. I take a half hour off for lunch. I love what I do. I first began writing when I was 13 years old and worked for a newspaper in Portsmouth, Virginia. I covered sports at my local high school there, and I've been tapping on this old typewriter for almost 65 years, although the typewriter isn't quite that old. I'm best known for a book. The book I'm best known for is entitled The Cage, and it came about with a streak of luck based on a true story. Back in the 1950s, I was in Washington, D.C. researching for a movie project at Paramount Studios where I worked. And after I finished that research for Paramount, I was working on a book for myself. The book was called Fire on the Beaches. Fire on the Beaches is the story of German submarine warfare up and down the east coast of the USA and on down into the Caribbean Sea. And down in the basement of Coast Guard headquarters, there were a whole bunch of files about ships that had been sunk during World War II. And when I was in the Caribbean section that morning, I came across an account of a Dutch ship that sailed from the port of Curacao in the Dutch West Indies, bound for the Panama Canal. This ship had a general cargo, both down in the holds and up on the deck, and for 2 days, 2 nights, it sailed along quite peacefully. And then a German submarine sighted it and decided to kill it. The sub shot one torpedo into the side of it and blew it half in two. It was as if a giant cleaver or a giant axe cut it cleanly. There were no connecting parts between the two halves of the ship. From the stern of that ship, a Dutch boy of 11 years old, dove into the water and swam a distance of about 30 feet and clambered up on top of a life raft that had been jarred loose by the impact of the torpedo. He was seen to be safe from the passengers up in the forward section of the ship. They had lowered a lifeboat and they were all going down into that lifeboat. Now the boy's mother was one of those passengers who was getting into the lifeboat. Just about that time, the German submarine motored up and got alongside the lifeboat and began questioning those passengers. They wanted to know where that ship was bound to, what kind of cargo it had on board, and questions of that sort. The sub was alongside the lifeboat for a period of about 20 or 30 minutes, and then, having the questions answered, it went off into the night. It motored off into the night. In the meantime, the boy's mother had lost sight of her son. He had drifted away on that life raft. And all night long, the passengers in the lifeboat shot up flares, they shouted, they rode in ever-widening circles. At first light in the morning, they looked out across the face of the sea, and he was gone. And he's been gone to this very day. Obviously, he died out there somewhere on that raft, whether or not a shark got him, or whether or not he died of dehydration. The main thing is that he did die. Well, I knew that there was some kind of a story in that little boy, and for 11 years I thought off and on about him and about that raft. And then I decided to do something about it. I decided to write a novel about him. The first thing that I had to do was to find a person suitable, capable of rescuing him. I lived in the islands for a while, and I met an old sailor named Robert, Robbert. That's the only name he had. He was very big, he was very old, and he had been to sea since he was about 13 or 14 years old, sailing in Caribbean schooners. So I decided to use him, my friend Robert, as the rescuer of the little boy. Now, I don't know any Dutch boys now. I did not know any Dutch boys then. And so I decided to use an American boy. When I was about 5 years old, I met a kid back in Statesville, North Carolina, where I was born. His name was Philip. Now, Philip was a nice boy in all ways except one. And in that one way, he was tragic. His mother had taught him to hate black people, and he hated them with a passion. That's very unusual for a boy of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old. So I decided to put him on that raft, to put my friend Robert, whom I renamed Timothy, on that raft, and I sent them off to a cave. Now, a cay is distinguished from all other islands by the fact that it has no fresh water whatsoever. Any water that comes onto the cay comes from the heavens. And that's why they call them a cay. It's a Spanish word. What I wanted to do was change the relationship between this white boy and the old black man. The white boy came onto that raft with a hatred of blacks, and here now he was on a raft with a black person upon whom his very life would depend. I sent them off to a cay that I have sailed by. It's about 600 miles off the coast of Nicaragua. There are no palm trees on it, but in the book I planted palm trees fictionally. Finally, if you've read the book, I hope you have, you'll know that Philip changed his attitude about black people and about, in particular, about old Timothy. He grew to love him. Timothy died, and the boy, Philip, survived on that island for more than a month because Philip had taught him how to survive. I do hope you enjoy the book, and I have another one coming up pretty soon called The Boy Who Could Fly Without a Motor, and I also hope you'll enjoy that. Thank you for letting me visit you. Goodbye.